Hello there. Before we start, I would like to shortly address the importance of building trust in coaches and their training methods because it's the first and definitely the most important thing that needs to happen. No matter what kind of training philosophy we have, if we aren't good psychologists first, we will have issues trying to build trust. Nothing big. Very simple. When I say psychologist, I mean on some simple social skills. Number one, smile. Finding the right time is crucial because it's not recommended to keep smiling 24/7, but putting smile on your face along with a warm word is more important than we think, especially for female athletes. Number two, adjusting communication skills to different personalities. One general advice, we simply need to listen athletes and try to understand them. That's much better than interrupting them and trying to share tips non-stop. And confidence. Trust your methods and what we are talking about in general. In order to achieve this, firstly, we need to be knowledgeable so athletes can see that we dominate our expertise. And one more thing, we need to find a way to punish those athletes who repeat bad oral or physical behavior because no matter how good they are, it's a cancer that can be spread to others easily. Cutting off the team is a great example, simple and effective, because from many coaches' experience, keep talking doesn't work that much very often in this case. Let's start with mental tips now. The first tip is you are physically and mentally ready. This is one of the most important things you need to start repeating approximately 2 weeks before competition. The worst thing you can tell your athletes is, hey, unfortunately, they didn't allow me to prepare you better for various reasons. Constantly blaming someone else, whether it's the head coach or directors, creates overall not very positive picture. Even if it's maybe true, never tell athletes that. It's a bit easier if you work in individual sports, but there is many different personalities in one team and creating bad communication relationships and poor confidence in this way is not a good idea. So, no matter what you think privately, we need to encourage them as they get closer to competition. Because, of course, it wasn't perfect and work could always be done better, no question about that. But as I said, encouraging them 2 weeks prior to competition will produce multiple mental benefits. Self confidence as one of the most important. Also, any financial problem or any other club problem shouldn't be mentioned as well. Okay, the second tip is if you have stage fright, recall your best competition race. This is maybe the best strategy to reduce stage fright right away. It will help you to stay confident. For sure, all the athletes had the best competition in the past. Also, you can shortly imagine yourself doing your best race, the well-known visualization technique. Aware though that this technique will not work immediately for everyone. Most athletes actually need to practice this a couple weeks before competition. As a coach, you can also gather them and practice all together few minutes after training. Remember that this imagining technique requires deep focus, and that's why it requires time to get it. The next tip is stop thinking too much. This is a general advice as well. Overthinking is never a good idea, whether you think positively or negatively. What I'm saying here is thinking too much about competition is an enemy, and too much excitement can be counterproductive. Being burned out is such a common issue among athletes. Players often say, I play my best when I don't think. It just means it's a 50 bits of thought rather than 500. Not nothing, but not everything. Not silence, but not noise. It's thought, but less thought. All in all, you have limited energy your body is spending on a daily basis, and this kind of stress can drain you out tremendously. You definitely want to save an extra energy for competition. Of course, in order to stop thinking too much, most athletes need to start practicing it at least few weeks or even months before competition. Also, because of this, at least, coaches sometimes tell to some specific athletes that they will not play the specific game, and when coach puts them in unexpectedly, they play very good. The next tip is during the race, stop thinking about technical details, just let it flow. This is one of the biggest mistakes so many athletes are making. This one is obviously correlated to the previous one. So what's the deal? Your sport-specific moves have become automatic, and thinking about it can make you stiff and fall down, or not being focused on strategy and similar. You should think just about the right moment to take advantage of your opponent. By quickly analyzing important things, you simply don't have time to think about automated moves. This way you will do your best. You will be focused on running in front of your opponents. For example, don't think about how to place your tennis racket, how high your elbow should be while spiking, where to put your feet in specific situation, which way to turn your foot while approaching a curve, and so forth. This is why changing technique, sometimes even small corrections weeks before competition, often doesn't make much sense, especially once athletes reach a high level of automatism. All in all, remember that too much thinking is your enemy in general. And the last tip is no pressure, just give your best at the moment, and nobody has the right to tell you anything bad. Of course, here I'm talking about very important competitions, not all of them. This tip is very important because it will reduce mental pressure tremendously. If a coach of trust tells this, athletes will play with much less pressure and most will not pay attention to audience at all. There is almost nothing better than coming to competition fully rested and when coach trusts you. This is especially important if you work with females, because girls have a huge natural tendency to think about what others will or could say about themselves. Are they going to disappoint anyone? Fear of a social judgment. They have a ton of emotional pressure. Girls are far more sensitive than we are, and being a female athlete is hard because of that. So, most of them are pretty much stressed out. We need to clearly tell them that we are here to support them and you just give your best. It's that simple. And always remember, we all have limited biological energy to spend on a daily basis. So, spend your energy smart. And at the end, an extra secret tip is organize short team autogenic training right before competition. We should all gain a habit of doing stimulative team autogenic training, lasting no more than 5 minutes right before competition. When I say right before competition, I mean right before leaving for the battlefield, after all the talk about tactics or whatever. So, this is the usual sitting position all the athletes need to take when it comes to pre-competition autogenic training. This position is known as the coachman position. Long story short, they need to be deeply focused on listening, imagining, and deeply believing coach-specific stimulating instructions. Autogenic training needs practice first as well. So the head or strength coach is in the middle so everyone can clearly hear instructions. Coach's voice is a bit louder and emotional according to the stimulating instructions. We start with the following instructions. My right leg is strong and fast. Repeat that 3 times in a slower but very confident way. Then repeat the same for the left leg and any other limb important for your sport. Once you are done with extremities, finish with the entire body. You will say, my body is strong, light, and fast. And the last instruction is, my head is mentally strong and quick. You all are ready to get up for the last greeting now and get out to win a game. Thanks for listening. Here you can find my email address. Feel free to contact me if you have any question. I will be more than happy to answer it. Or check my website for more info.